So this, because here you see, well, the main different socio-economic sectors, let's say, I have put here also in 2003, approximately, to give you an idea, 3.5% of the people belong to the high income, who earn an average of $35,000, $100. The middle income, approximately 900. These two are 20% of the people. And then it's the low income sector who have an average of 352. And the very low income who live with less than $2 a day. No. No, yes, they do, because this is for the whole family. Almost 50%. Since then it has improved, because this is 2003, when the reactivation of the economy was going up. This has improved, but you still have to think that poverty is still very high, like 40%. So in the 70s, this Turner began to write a lot and to give lectures, to provide photos, and to say, well, this is the way to tackle the housing provision for most of the people in the third world. We have to support these initiatives, we have to help them technically, and the people themselves, they should be incorporated, involved in all this. And in Peru, this was also a time of the Plan Barriadas, where all these ideas of Turner, which were evidently taken from Lima, but more elaborated, and then recommended by the World Bank to all countries after the first Habitat Conference. And this was taken very much into the practice. So this was what Turner was saying. This is the price of a dwelling in a project, build a estate. And this is in an informal scheme, in a barriada. So the people would save 50%, and not only that, build according to their own means.
So what's this showing exactly? This is kind of read.
This is a relative construction cost. This is 100%. These are the materials and equipment. This is the labor, insured labor and uninsured labor, administration costs of a house, and interests.
Oh, okay.
So all of this is saved, of course. Labor is also a little bit saved, because a lot of people hire informal or friends, relatives, and then they don't hire architects. So, then during the 70s, this was actually the progressive housing schemes, these two. This was actually the decade of the golden decade, the 70s, of these schemes. Not only in Peru, but in the whole world, because of these policy recommendations of the World Bank. But in the 80s, the economic crisis began. In Latin America, we had the debt crisis, and most of the economies really sunk incredibly. And Peru was one of the worst, because not only the economy was going down, but also we had a political insurgent movement, the Shining Path, which made a spiral of violence and poverty, and really, we were in a incredible crisis. Here you can see how formal employment decreased. This is formal employment, this is informal employment, and this is unemployment. And after 87, less than 5% of the total people were formally employed.
Wow.
I was not. I was just doing whatever.
How is it possible?
Because the crisis was terrible. There was absolutely no private investment, no public investment. The country was fallit. So this gives you an idea how bad we had it.
What is the middle?
This underemployed says here, and this is the people who were employed in the informal sector. So during this year, of course, it was a huge crisis, so there were absolutely no programs anymore. But the government made the building materials bank, so you could ask for building materials for your own houses, and then you would pay a soft loan. So this was the only thing. And then the 90s was a period of reforms, like in most Latin American countries. All these neoliberal ideas were implemented in reforms, and we had an economic shock that stopped hyperinflation but made people poorer than before. And but on the other hand, we had a new constitution which said that housing is not anymore a right like it was before. They completely dismantled all the institutions, the mortgage bank, el banco hipotecario, all the cooperatives that we had, and the Ministry of Housing completely dismantled. There was an absolute neglect. So they were saying, well, housing was traditionally in the house of the market, in the sense that for the ones who could afford it, it was the commercial banks who gave the mortgages. But there was support, at least for the poor, a kind of support, giving titles and providing schools and facilities. But during these 90s, the whole decade was, barriers were seen as the bad solution. So this was a completely break with the previous governments and policies. So what they did do is follow Hernando de Soto's advice. Well, Hernando de Soto, what he says, well, in very few words, is that if we legalize land, the people would invest a lot in housing, and then they could go to the banks, and with that they can have a mortgage to get money to finish their housing, but not only that, but also to invest in economic activities. So there began a huge program. It is the largest program of land legalization in the world, which has given 1.8 million land titles in Guatemala until now, because it's still going. But luckily, in 2001 we had a new government, and everything was changed. And in 2003 we got a new housing policies and programs, which were according to the different socio-economic sectors. So they follow the World Bank and Inter-American Development Bank recommendations for this also. And then these two, BANMAT, the Materials Bank, and Mi Vivienda, another institution which is specifically for higher income. BANMAT is for the very poor, and this is for the not so poor. So the ones who can be subject to credit in the commercial banks, and BANMAT is for the ones who cannot. So they became the main institutions to organize the whole program. So they made programs with this scheme, ABC. This is very much following the Chilean experience in housing, which has been very successful.